So I ended up throwing a drone up in the air and just kind of show you what this process looks like prior to loading it up on the truck here. And what we have here is a Fritch defacer mounted to our 624K payloader, and we use that to deface the feed pile. We usually work from the top to the bottom. Sometimes we start out in the middle and work down, and then start from the top and work back down to the middle, just because we're dropping the pile on the ground and sometimes it's hard to deface the bottom 4 or 5 feet when there's already a pile there. So Nate's running the defacer here. He has started on the right hand side of the bunk, and he has been working from the right hand side here to the left. So he's got just a little bit left here, and then once he gets done defacing that, we'll load it on a truck and we'll bring it up closer to the commodity shed for when we load feed. We can actually load a lot faster if we're not having to carry this silage so far, and it also helps to keep the mess out of the driveway from whatever could spill off of the bucket. Now this defacer, I believe it's 16 foot from the attachment pad to the actual defacer, and then the defacer is 10 foot wide. We also have a defacer that goes on the telehandler. That one is a Fritch defacer as well. However, we haven't used that in quite a few years, and that will go on the newer JCB telehandler along with the older one as well. So he's just kind of squaring himself up here. He's trying to make as flat of a surface as he can on the face of that bunk. And then the whole idea of the defacer is it keeps a tighter bunk face, and it actually helps keep the feed a little fresher. When you bucket into the bunk and then end up having to disrupt the pile of silage with the actual bucket and not deface, you actually end up with more of a surface area exposed to oxygen, and oxygen starts the decaying process, if you will. And if we can minimize the amount of surface area that is exposed to oxygen, the less rot we'll get between one day and the next. It's not really rotting, but it the oxygen starts to break it down. So he's got just a little bit left there, and we'll go ahead and get started with loading it here. He's got the other bunk on the other side, which is conventional corn silage, just on the other side of this wall. This is VMR in this bunk, and then he has conventional silage in this one here that he has already defaced. Now you might ask, why do we have the bunk split? Well, we have the bunk split because we're not feeding as much of this conventional silage as we are the BMR, so we feed down one side, then we start going backwards, going the other way, so that when we go into chopping this year's silage, we'll actually be able to have the fermented feed out in the front of the bunk. However, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to have this BMR silage, which BMR stands for brown midrib. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to get this bunk here empty by the time we get done with chopping BMR. We're going to put the first stuff that we chop down in the lower bunk. So we're going to go ahead and start loading this onto a truck and carrying it up to the bunk up above, where we are closer to the commodity shed. And we'll kind of just swing the drone around here. We are on the down at the lower bunks. We got high moisture corn over in that bunk there, and then we're going to be trucking this feed up top and into one of the bunks that's in front of the commodity shed. So we'll join back up with you when we start loading this up. Alright, so you've seen us defacing the feed with the 624K payloader. And this machine here is a machine that we are thinking about buying. So this is a demo machine from 5 Star Equipment. It is not a new machine, it is used. It is a 624K too. They are doing the 624Ls now. This machine is 3 years old. It has just over 300 hours on it. And what it is a lease return machine. They had a few of these in stock, and this one of course is for sale. It's not really something that we are looking to really buy this year, but the opportunity presented itself and we thought we better entertain it, being that our loaders both have over 20,000 hours on them. The 624K has roughly 21,700 hours on it. And the 544 has got over 20,000 hours on it as well. Now this machine here is just 1 generation newer than the 624K that we have. This has DEF. It needs diesel exhaust fluid. The other one does not. However, that's just the environment that we're in now, and that is inevitable. It's just stuff we're going to have to start using on all this stuff eventually. Now on this machine here, I ended up putting this faster hydraulic coupler on here. This coupler is what we're going to plug our hoses in from the defacer and the rollout bucket. Now I didn't want to weld anything on here. This did have the 2 hose couplers coming up through this bracket right here. I made this bracket to bolt to the faster coupler and just ran a bolt down in here just in case this is a machine that we're not going to buy. I did not want to have anything welded into place here. On the other machine we have a piece of flat bar that comes off and it welds right to the bracket, and then eventually that's what I'll do with this one if we so choose to buy it. Now this carrier here that the bucket hooks to the coupler is a John Deere coupler with a JRB style hookup, and this one is slightly different than the one that is on our other loader. However, it will take and accept the buckets that we already have. So we're going to go up now. We'll put the bucket on. I'm hoping that the hoses are in the right orientation, so when we flip the lever the right way, it functions the bucket right. If not, we're just going to have to take these hoses off and switch them around. So let's go ahead and put the bucket on it. We'll load up a couple of loads of corn silage just to kind of give you an idea of what this machine is like. It's really no different than the machine that we already have. So let's go ahead and get on with it here. The one thing that it does not have on there is it doesn't have the rear fenders, which we're thinking about getting a set for it. But it is in real nice shape. The damn thing looks like brand new. And it's quite a bit cheaper than a new one. The one thing that is different from the machine we have is the hydraulic oil reservoir is right on this side of the frame, just in between the machine and the ladder to get up into the machine. On the other loader, the hydraulic oil reservoir is right in behind the cab, but because this has the emission stuff on it, there's just not enough room under the hood, so they moved this hydraulic reservoir to the outside here, which is neither here nor there. It's just as easy to fill it up there as it is to fill it here. However, it does kick the steps out a little farther from the edge of the machine. So we'll go ahead and jump up in here, and as you can see, it's real clean inside. The cab is just about identical to the other one. This touchpad is the same. It does have a backup camera that comes up on this screen here. We'll go ahead and start this so I can get some air running. But I guess I better turn that off too, because you're going to hear nothing but the fan blowing. And that's the bucket beeping, so we'll just lock the pins. Like I was saying, this touchpad is the same as the other one. This is the lever for the hydraulic function that is run off that coupler. This is what we run the rollout bucket from, and the defacer. You got the joystick, same as the other one. It's got the forward neutral reverser on the back side, and then you can switch between automatic transmission, or you can downshift from first to third gear on the joystick here. Another thing that's a little different, it does have a little cubby hole here. The other one does not have that open area there. Other than that, looks like a USB charger. Earphones, actually you can hook your earphones in there. It doesn't look like it has a USB charger. Looks like it's got a freaking heated seat, but we got our cigarette lighter charger back there. And then this little area here is the exact same on this one as the other one. So we'll go up and put the bucket on. We'll show you what the camera screen looks like. As soon as you put it in reverse, the camera on the rear of the machine shows up on the screen there. You can see that right there. And then on this display, we've got a gauge for the diesel exhaust fluid, which this instrument panel is just a little bit different than the other one. So there is the 544 there, along with both telehandlers, and we'll do a walk around of the 544, and we'll also do a walk around of our 624. We haven't yet decided if we're going to trade one of the machines in or not. I'd like to keep both of them, just so that we have 3 payloaders. However, there's going to be one sitting most of the time. We put sand in on Mondays, and sometimes Tuesdays. We're overlapped into Tuesday as well. And that's what we use the 544 loader for, is to load sand, and then we put our bedding sand in 2 of the bays of the commodity shed. So I've got to find this rollout bucket. I don't know what Nate did with it here. Setting over on this other side. Yeah, it's setting right over here. So we'll go ahead and get coupled onto it. I gotta have 2 hands here. Okay, so we have that on there, and then there's a hydraulic function that locks and unlocks our pins. So we're going to do that. Now we're going to shut the machine off, and in order to neutralize the hydraulic function going up front, you power the switch one time, your start switch, so the accessory switch is on. You hold your hydraulic lock and unlock button here, and then I've got to have my other hand, but then you wiggle this lever here back and forth. See if I can hold the camera. You wiggle that back and forth, and then that neutralizes the hydraulic pressure up on that hydraulic coupler. So we'll go ahead and get this hooked up here. The beauty with the faster coupler is you don't have to actually hook up any hydraulic hoses. So we got to wipe that off. Okay, so we've got that all wiped off. That's just going to set down on there. And then we're just going to lock this down. Okay, we've got that locked into place. Now the moment of truth is whether or not those hoses are running the right way. They should be. Just check this quick, make sure our pins are actually locked in there, which you can see them from the cab. So let's go ahead and fire this up. Yeah, and that is functioning the right way. What we plan on getting for a bucket, because we're going to need another rollout bucket. This 624 and the other 624, they're just standard lift bucket arms. In other words, they're not a high lift machine. The 544, however, is a high lift loader. It lifts anywhere from 10 to 12 inches. I can't remember the exact load height difference on the 544J compared to the 544J high lift. It's somewhere around 10 or 12 inches. On the L loader that they have out now, they have the standard lift, like this K2. Then they have a high lift, and then they have a high lift, I think it's called a plus. And the high lift is roughly 12 inches. It has 12 inches more lift height than the standard lift, and then the plus has got another 11 or 12 beyond that. So the plus lifts about 2 feet higher than the standard one. However, with the longer bucket arms, you're going to lose some of your lifting capacity because your weight is out beyond the front end that much farther, and you're going to need more weight on the ass end to keep the machine from lifting up in the air. We like this rollout bucket because we can get over the side of the truck and we can dump the whole bucket in without having the bucket come down inside the truck. The exhaust filter cleaning. The high lift you can get up above and beyond that, but the rollout bucket just does a better job of being able to round a truck right up. Now, this is a rollout bucket. What we're thinking about getting is a push-out bucket, which a push-out bucket is it's got a flap. The back of the bucket just pushes out and it pushes all the material out. This bucket here has a couple of lift cylinders that are more or less laying horizontally, and they take up some space in the bottom of the bucket, and it takes a little bit of space away, but it also gives an area in the corner of the bucket to have material get caught and wedged in. So as you can see, this bucket will lift the machine all the way up. So that is full pin right there. And then if we just dump the bucket without doing the rollout, the bucket is down inside the truck quite a ways. Therefore, you can't round up a big, huge load on the truck. You have to shake the bucket. So the next bucket I dump, I'll show you how the rollout works from the cab. Now, we've had this bucket for 6 or 8 years now, and I've got quite a few videos out. So I'm sure most of you have seen how this bucket works, and I'll put the drone up in the air in a minute here as well, and it'll give you an idea of what things look like from the outside of the machine here. So this machine works just like the other one, so this is nothing new other than the paint's a little shinier is all. So right now we will do the rollout function. It's gonna take me a little bit to get up to the truck here because I'm holding the camera. But we'll just creep up to the side of the truck. Now we'll put the bucket up all the way. There, the bucket is up all the way. Now we're rolling it out, and the cutting edge is not much lower than the actual bucket hinge point of the attachment that is on the actual bucket arm. So we're gonna go ahead and shut the camera off now. I'm gonna get this loaded up, and we'll have Nate load the next one, and I'll throw the drone up in the air to give you a visual from the air on this machine working. Again, it's nothing more than you've kind of seen this machine or these payloaders run in the past, but we'll get the drone up in the air here next clip, and we'll give you a shot from the sky here. All right, so we've got the truck just about loaded up here. This is going to be the last bucket load that we put on, and then Nate's going to go up and dump it. And like I said, I'll throw the drone up in the air for the loading of the next load here. And as you can see, you can round this right up. The bucket won't even touch the pile of silage that is getting dumped in the truck. Now, a couple other functions that I want to kind of talk about here on this loader. We'll kind of pan over to the screen here. There is the backup camera there, and then now the panel is coming up. So we just gave him the signal that we're loaded, and as you can see right here, this machine has 305 hours on it, and a couple of the functions here on the display. This has transmission disconnect. We can set the bucket to raise to a certain height and stop, and then lower to a certain height and stop. The other loader has that function as well. And another function that this has that is real handy that the 544 does not have, and that is ride control. In other words, there's an accumulator on the load boom, and when you're traveling through the driveway, the bucket boom will kind of float with the terrain, if you will, and you don't get that jostling around. The 624 has that on it as well, and that is real handy. So we're gonna let Nate load up the next load here, and we're gonna pop the drone up in the air. Alright, so Nate has taken over with the loader here so that we could get the drone up in the air. Kind of give you a visual of what this looks like from the air, if you will, I guess. So, as you can see, it's not any different than the other loader, other than it says K2 on the loader arm there, but other than that, it's not much different. Then the other loader does have a chrome pipe on there, and it does not have the fenders on it. So we'll just fly around here for a minute and kind of talk to you all at the same time. Now we're just, like I was saying earlier, we're just demoing this loader. We're making sure it's something that is gonna perform the way it should, being that it's a used machine. It was actually a lease return from a snowplow company somewhere in New York State here. I don't know if they're in the southern part of the state or what, but they leased a bunch of these machines. I don't know how many to be exact. I think there might have been 3 of these 624K2s that came back on lease return, and I think they had some larger ones. And then I think they also had some smaller ones. This machine here, if I remember right from what the salesman had said, this machine here was out at the farm show. So if any of you went to the farm days and seen a 624K2 loader, it was this one here. It was in the southern part of the state here, down in, I want to say down in below Binghamton, one of their other stores, and they trucked it up for the farm show. And then this past Monday, Tim went to Syracuse and picked it up from the Syracuse branch at 5 Star. 5 Star has several locations throughout New York State. I don't know if they're anywhere else other than New York State or not, but at any rate, the store that they have in Syracuse is a brand new store, and it is quite the facility there. They ended up building that here just, I don't know when they got moved in there. I think they got moved in there either last fall or this spring. They haven't been in there a whole year yet. So you can see Nate's got just a few bucket loads on there, and he is just about loaded. This is supposed to be a 5.5 yard bucket on this loader. However, I don't think it's 5.5 yards. We always felt that this one was a little smaller than the other 5.5 yard regular bucket that we have that came with the 544 loader. Oh, let's see here. I had to ignore that phone call here for a second. So you can see the boxes that are inside that bucket. They kind of hinder the bottom of the bucket a little bit, and then you end up getting some material caught in the corners. And we're gonna look into possibly buying a push-out bucket if we in fact buy this loader, or if we buy another one. Who knows, maybe we'll end up getting a Cat or a JCB loader, you never know. So here is, I don't know if he's probably going to make this bucket the last bucket for this load here. We end up feeding 3 of these. 3 loads from the BMR per day, 2 loads from the conventional corn, which is right over in here, which we're on top of the conventional corn bunk. We feed 2 loads of this, and like I was saying, 3 loads of the BMR. Got a slightly smaller bucket load here, so I think he's going to make this one his last one. Prior to having the rollout bucket, we used to have to, when we loaded feed with the 544 loader, we had to, you know, flick the bucket to get the last little bit out of the bucket. And I think he's gonna park that there, and he's gonna take that truck up and he's gonna dump it. I guess he's not going to acknowledge that the drone is there. Alright, we'll do a little walk around of the our older 624K payloader and the 544, and we'll close this video out here. So we're just going to follow Nate up top here. And as you can see with the amount of water that is on the concrete here, we have received a lot of rain, and it rained while I was feeding cows this morning. So he's just going to back up alongside the load that he dumped here earlier. We got a load of half a load of conventional silage in behind him, and then there's a partial load of BMR here to his left. So he actually won't have to move. Only a small, his third load would only have to be a small one. See if we recall back. Oh, we were planting corn. Garrett had one of these lower mounts on this hoist on this John Deere truck. Broke, and we got that fixed about a month ago here now. This truck handles a lot of feed in a day, and it is every day. The box, I built that back in 90, I believe it was like 98 or something like that, and it's wore out. You can see the you can see that we're starting to get some ripples in the floor, and the sides have parts of the sheet metal in between the posts are starting to get some holes in them, and it doesn't have much time left here, but we're just going to keep running it until it won't run no more. So we'll do a walk around of those two loaders right now. So I've just parked these two loaders here side by side. That's the 624K there, and then this one is the 544, and we'll do a walk around of this machine here. This one's got 21,258 hours on it. So this loader here was the first payloader that we've ever owned, and it's in pretty good shape yet. Actually, it's in real good shape. And this loader here was the first payloader that, like I was saying, that we had. We went from load and feed with a skid steer, then we ended up load and feed with a front end loader, a 158 loader on a 4430. Then we had a couple of John Deere telehandlers, and then we ended up buying this payloader here, which was a real game changer as far as load and feed. You can just load feed a lot faster, and they're one heck of a machine to load feed with. The bucket arms take it. These are the original arms. We've had some welding done to these cylinders. These cylinders have leaked where the barrel welds onto the eye. This is the original tool carrier here. I think we've replaced the pins up in here, and that's about all we've done to this loader. It does have the original engine. However, we had the rods and mains done on it at like 12,000 hours. The center pins, I don't know if we ever had those done or not, but this machine runs real well. And all we do is load bed and sand with it. So this is the 624K here. I don't know offhand exactly how many hours it's got on it, but we can of course look. As you can see, this interior is the same as that K2. However, this does not have backup camera. So this one's got 21,316 hours on it. I forget offhand what this 544 had, right about the same amount of hours on it. Now this loader here, we did have to have the engine done at 16,000 hours. The day that Zach Johnson showed up here, the millennial farmer, Nate was down below in that first bunk. Them other two bunks weren't there yet. I don't think the second one was there. But at any rate, Zach and I were walking down there, walking along the top, and I knew things didn't quite sound right on the loader. It sounded like it was knocking, but I didn't know if maybe just because of the cement walls all the way around the machine and we were hearing it from the top, I didn't know if maybe if it had a like a hydraulic problem, whether it be a hydraulic pump going out on it or a filter starting to plug or what. Never dreamed that the engine was knocking. So we used it for a few minutes. After we had checked the oil on it, the oil level was fine. Zach defaced with it for a few minutes, and then we parked it, and I said to Nate, you know, I said, we'll get back to that later. When we went throughout the rest of the video, Zach ended up using the 544, and then when Zach left, I ended up moving this loader. I checked it all over. I went to move it to take the bucket off of it, and I went from here to the front of that building there, and the engine set up on it. Had we known that was going to happen to it, we probably should have left Zach running it. It probably would have made a decent video, but we just didn't want to be overlooking something just to keep the video going, and we didn't want to have a bunch of damage happen to something that could have been prevented. We don't really know what happened to the engine. It had oil in it. It had never overheated. It has just gotten to the point where it was wore out. So this has had an engine done on it at 16,000 hours. We have replaced the coupler up on the front here twice now. We just put this here on about a month ago, and we ended up doing pins and bushings on this articulation joint here. If you recall, back in the winter time, we had this thing split apart, and we replaced the pins and bushings slash bearings in the articulation part of this loader. Now, I had gotten some questions, you know, why don't you just mix feed with a telehandler? Well, telehandler's not heavy enough to mix feed. You sit down too low. It's hard to see you know, you're looking up all the time to load the mixer wagon, and it is just these are a better unit to load feed with. Unless you're used to loading feed with a skid steer with a smaller mixer wagon, the telehandler would be for you. But when it comes to loading these larger mixers, the payloader is where it's at. So that's going to do it for this video, folks. I want to thank you for watching, and we will catch you at the next video.